Imagine this, the streets of New York, yellow cabs honking, kids running across crosswalks, the distant hum of the subway underground, then suddenly silence. A shadow stretches across the city skyline, not a plane, not a helicopter, but something far more terrifying. A dragon, massive, golden scales gleaming in the sunlight, wings spreading wider than entire city blocks. The monster roars, shaking the skyscrapers to their core. This is Fafnir, the cursed dragon of Norse mythology, a beast of greed and destruction. And standing between him and total chaos, one man, one mask, one web-slinger, Spider-Man. Today we're asking the ultimate question: what if Spider-Man fought Fafnir the dragon? Setting the stage. Before the battle begins, let's talk about the fighters. Spider-Man aka Peter Parker. Bitten by a radioactive spider, Peter gained the proportionate strength, speed, and agility of the arachnid. Add in his precognitive spider sense, his genius-level intellect, and his trusty web shooters, and you have one of Marvel's most versatile heroes. But Spider-Man isn't just about power. He's about responsibility. He's the guy who never gives up, even when the odds are stacked against him. Now his opponent, Fafnir. Once a man, now a beast. According to Norse legend, Fafnir was consumed by greed after claiming a cursed hoard of treasure. That greed twisted him, warped him, until he became a dragon of immense power. His scales, virtually indestructible. His fire, hot enough to melt the strongest steel. His greed, insatiable. In mythology, it took cunning and strategy to bring him down. And today, that task falls to New York's favorite wall crawler. Round 1, the first encounter. The rift opens above Times Square. Lightning crackles, reality tears like paper, and through it emerges Fafnir, wings blocking out the sun, his roar sending tourists fleeing in terror. Spider-Man swings into action. He cracks a joke because that's what he does. Great. First lizards, then rhinos, now dragons. At this point, I should start a zoo, but Fafnir doesn't laugh. Instead, he unleashes a blast of fire. The street erupts in flames, cars melt into puddles of metal, and Spider-Man only survives thanks to a desperate swing out of harm's way. Pete tries webbing Fafnir's wings, wrapping them in sticky cords. But against a creature this size, the webs snap instantly. It's like throwing string at a tank. Spider-Man realizes quickly, brute force won't work. If he's going to survive, he's going to need a plan. Round 2, brains versus brawn. Spider-Man retreats, dodging fireballs as Fafnir lays waste to Midtown. He analyzes everything he sees. The dragon's fire takes time to build. Maybe there's a way to exploit the pauses. His wings are powerful, but when folded in tight spaces, they're useless. And most importantly, Fafnir is drawn to treasure. Banks, jewelry stores, vaults. His greed pulls him like a magnet. So Spider-Man adapts. He lures Fafnir into the financial district, swinging through the narrow streets, baiting the dragon with armored cars full of gold. Here, the skyscrapers become weapons. Spider-Man collapses scaffolding onto Fafnir's head. He webs together cranes and drops them like giant snares. Water towers explode as Pete bursts them open, dousing the dragon's flames. It works for a while, but every time Spider-Man thinks he's gained an edge, Fafnir's rage intensifies. His scales shrug off debris. His wings smash through steel beams. His fire grows hotter. Spider-Man is exhausted, his suit scorched, his body aching. But he doesn't stop, because that's who he is. Round 3, the final gamble. Spider-Man knows he can't kill Fafnir, but maybe he can trap him. He leads the dragon toward the Hudson River. Using every last ounce of his web fluid, he rigs the docks with explosives and industrial chains. Fafnir roars, charging at him, fire building in his throat. Spider-Man swings directly into the beast's path. His spider sense screams. He times it perfectly, detonating the charges as Fafnir lunges. The docks erupt in fire and smoke. Chains whip around the dragon's neck and wings. The force knocks Fafnir into the Hudson. Water floods over him, extinguishing his flames. He thrashes, clawing, roaring in fury. Spider-Man lands on his snout, staring the monster in the eye. You're big, you're scary, but you're not unbeatable. Not here. Not while I'm still standing. With a final struggle, Fafnir sinks beneath the waves, dragged down by rubble and chains. The river grows calm. For now. The aftermath. The city smolders. Smoke rises over Manhattan. Firefighters rush to put out the flames. Spider-Man collapses on a rooftop, barely able to breathe. He's alive. He's won, or at least survived. But as he stares at the Hudson, he knows the truth. Fafnir isn't gone. He's waiting, biding his time. And somewhere out there, Thor is probably very confused about why a dragon from Norse myth was just duking it out with Spider-Man in New York City. But that's a story for another day. So what did we learn? That sometimes brains can beat brawn, that heart can triumph over greed, and that even when the odds are impossible, Spider-Man never quits. Because no matter the enemy, even a dragon, he's still your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. New York City, a place of light, skyscrapers, and endless movement. But beneath the streets, in the darkness of the sewers, another world festers, a world of decay, shadows, and gnawing teeth. This is where the creature known as Vermin thrives. Half man, half rat, a broken soul twisted by experiments. And tonight he has a visitor, Spider-Man. But this isn't your usual costumed clash. This is a fight of survival, of humanity against savagery, of a hero's compassion against a monster's rage. So, what would happen if Spider-Man fought Vermin? Who is Vermin? Before we dive into the fight, we need to understand Vermin's origin. Edward Whalen wasn't always a monster. He was once a brilliant young man, a gifted geneticist who admired science. But his life took a tragic turn when Baron Zemo and Arnim Zola experimented on him, warping his body and mind. The result? A rat-like humanoid with fur, claws, fangs, and feral instincts. His senses became animal-like, his strength and speed magnified. But most horrifying of all, he gained the ability to control and summon swarms of rats, bending them to his will like an army of teeth and claws. But beneath the snarling exterior, fragments of Edward remain. Vermin isn't purely evil, he is a victim of cruelty, and that makes him one of Spider-Man's most tragic foes. He's fought Spider-Man before, even overwhelming him when supported by his endless rat hordes. It once took both Spider-Man and Captain America to bring him down. That's how dangerous Vermin really is. The hunt begins. Our story begins with a wave of disappearances. People vanish near subway stations and alleyways, their screams echoing into the sewers, never to return. The police blame rising crime. But Spider-Man? His instincts tell him something worse is at play. Swinging through the night, Peter Parker listens carefully. His spider sense tingles not in the bright city above, but in the depths below. The air is heavy with stench. The tunnels echo with skittering feet. And somewhere in that darkness, Vermin waits. The first encounter. Spider-Man doesn't wait long. His spider sense screams, but it's too late. Vermin lunges from the shadows, claws flashing, teeth snapping. The fight is immediate, brutal, animalistic. Spider-Man strikes with precision, webbing Vermin's arms, landing a solid kick to his chest. But Vermin absorbs the blows with savage endurance. His claws tear into Spidey's suit, nearly ripping through his side. Then, the rats come. Hundreds, thousands, pouring from the walls, from pipes, from cracks in the concrete. They crawl over Spider-Man, biting, clawing, overwhelming him in waves. Spidey panics, webbing wildly, trying to clear the swarm, but every web line he uses drains his precious cartridges. Vermin laughs, a chilling, guttural sound, as the rats turn the battlefield in his favor. Spider-Man's struggle. For the first time in months, Spider-Man feels fear, not just of losing but of being consumed. Every second he's forced to remind himself, don't lose control, don't become like him, because that's what makes this battle different. Vermin is what Spider-Man could have become if science had twisted him instead of gifting him. A creature ruled by instinct instead of conscience. Pinned under Vermin's claws, Peter remembers the people missing from the streets, the lives that need saving. He can't afford to fall here. The turning point. Overwhelmed, Spider-Man changes tactics. He stops fighting Vermin directly and starts fighting the environment. Using his webbing, he lashes at the steel pipes, creating vibrations that screech through the tunnels. The sound is unbearable, high-pitched, piercing. The rats squeal in panic. The horde scatters in chaos, leaving Vermin suddenly alone. Enraged, Vermin charges. Spider-Man dodges, webbing his legs, tripping him into the murky water. The fight becomes one-on-one at last. Blow for blow they clash. Spider-Man's strikes are sharp, calculated. Vermin's are wild, savage. Each hit echoes like thunder in the hollow sewer, and for the first time, Vermin falters. The climax. Spider-Man sees his opening. He fires a rapid barrage of webbing, pinning Vermin to the wall, binding his arms and chest until he can't move. But when he looks into Vermin's eyes, he doesn't see a villain. He sees Edward Whalen, the broken man buried under layers of fur and rage. Spider-Man pauses. He knows he could end this fight forever, but that's not who he is. He's not an executioner. Instead, he speaks, calm, firm, human. Edward, it's over. You need help. For a moment, the monster snarls. Then, silence. The fight is done. Aftermath and legacy. Spider-Man emerges from the sewers battered, clawed, and shaken. Vermin is taken into custody not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Because this wasn't just a fight between hero and villain. It was a clash between compassion and savagery. Spider-Man didn't just defeat Vermin, he resisted becoming him. And that's what makes him a hero. In the end, the question isn't who wins, but who chooses to stay human. Imagine this. The streets of New York are alive with chaos. Car alarms blare. Civilians scatter. And in the middle of the mayhem stands a figure whose silhouette is as menacing as it is unmistakable. Four massive, metallic tentacles whipping and crashing into buildings, each strike echoing like a thunderclap. Dr. Octopus, genius, madman, the self-proclaimed superior intellect of the Marvel Universe. But swinging into frame, with quick reflexes and the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, comes the one man who refuses to back down. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. This isn't just another supervillain showdown. This is a clash of willpower versus arrogance, heart versus hubris, brains versus even more brains but twisted and dangerous. Today we're breaking down what would really happen if Spider-Man fought Doctor Octopus. Origins and motivation. To understand this battle, we first need to understand the men behind the masks, or in Otto's case, behind the metal arms. Otto Octavius was once a brilliant scientist, a pioneer in nuclear physics. His pride, however, rivaled his genius. During an accident in the lab, the very mechanical arms he designed fused with his nervous system. It granted him incredible strength and control over the tentacles but also fractured his mind. He became Doctor Octopus, consumed by the belief that his intellect placed him above all others. Peter Parker's story couldn't be more different. A shy, awkward teenager bitten by a radioactive spider, he gained powers that could have made him selfish, but the death of Uncle Ben taught him the lesson he'd carry forever. With great power comes great responsibility, and that's the core of this fight. One man fights for himself, the other fights for everyone else. Physical breakdown. Let's compare the raw abilities. Doctor Octopus. Each tentacle is made of titanium steel alloy, able to lift up to 8 tons each. That's 32 tons total, all controlled simultaneously with incredible precision. They move fast enough to intercept bullets. Otto doesn't even need to move his body. The arms are his offense, defense, and mobility all in one. The arms can extend over 20 feet, giving him battlefield dominance and long-range striking power. Spider-Man. Peter has the proportional strength of a spider. He can lift cars, tear steel apart, and go toe-to-toe with powerhouses. But his real edge? Speed and agility. His reflexes are superhuman, and his spider sense warns him of danger before it happens. While Otto relies on 4 arms, Peter's entire body is a weapon. Acrobatics, wall crawling, and webbing give him creativity that Otto simply doesn't have. So who wins the physical game? In terms of raw strength, Doc Ock's arms outclass Spider-Man. But Spider-Man is far faster, and speed in combat is often deadlier than power. The mental battle. But Spider-Man vs. Doctor Octopus is never just about fists and webs. It's a chess match. Otto's genius. He's a master strategist, a scientist who can manipulate environments, hack systems, and create weapons on the fly. He has no problem using civilians as bait, which forces Spider-Man to split his focus. Peter's brilliance. Never underestimate Peter Parker's mind. He's one of Marvel's brightest inventors. Web shooters, tracers, gadgets he thinks while fighting. Unlike Otto, Peter adapts emotionally and strategically mid-battle. And here's the twist. Dr. Octopus's arrogance often becomes his downfall. He underestimates Spider-Man, dismissing him as a child-playing hero. That hubris blinds Otto to Peter's creativity. The fight begins. The battle starts in downtown New York. Otto's tentacles slam into taxis, lift up chunks of concrete, and fling them like missiles. Spider-Man dodges and flips, webs shooting in every direction. Round 1, brute force. Spider-Man tries sticking Otto's arms to walls with webs, but the raw power of the tentacles tears through like paper. Otto corners Spider-Man, pinning him against a building. One arm coils around Peter's chest, tightening like a python. The crowd gasps, and could this be it? Round 2, counterattack. Peter's spider sense saves him. He webs Otto's goggles, blinding him temporarily, and launches himself upward. He uses his speed to strike from multiple angles, delivering rapid-fire kicks and punches. But every time he lands a hit, another tentacle smashes him back. Otto's arms give him near 360-degree coverage. Round 3, the turning point. Otto grabs a bus full of civilians. He dangles it off a bridge, forcing Spider-Man into an impossible choice. Save the people or stop him. Peter chooses the people, of course he does. As he webs the bus to safety, Otto laughs. "You're predictable, Parker." But that's where Otto underestimates him. Peter uses his webs not just to save the bus but to create a trap. While Otto is distracted, Peter rigs multiple web lines into a pulley system, slingshotting himself at full speed. He smashes into Otto, disabling his harness and shorting out the neural link. The aftermath. Dr. Octopus collapses, his tentacles twitching uselessly. He screams in rage, calling Spider-Man a naive fool who wastes his brilliance protecting those unworthy of his genius. But Peter stands tall, battered and bruised. He tells Otto what separates them. It's not about being the smartest or the strongest. It's about never giving up on people even when it's hard. And that's the heart of this fight. Otto fights for ego. Peter fights for everyone else. Alternate scenarios. But what if things were different? If Otto hacked Peter's web shooters mid-fight, Spider-Man would be forced into hand-to-hand combat only. The odds tilt heavily toward Otto. If Spider-Man wore the Iron Spider suit with its own mechanical arms, the battle becomes more even. Tech versus tech, intellect versus intellect. If Otto had time to prepare a battlefield designed to counter Spider-Man's agility, things could get very ugly very fast. At the end of the day, Spider-Man vs. Doctor Octopus isn't just a superhero brawl. It's a clash of philosophies. Otto believes intellect grants superiority. Peter believes responsibility grants true strength. And time and again, despite the odds, Spider-Man proves that heart beats hubris. That's why, in almost every version of this fight, Spider-Man comes out on top. Because villains fight for themselves. But heroes? Heroes fight for everyone.